On BBC Two Now, this week's magazine for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. See here.
Hi, and welcome to See Here on Saturday with me, Laura. And what do we have for you today? Well, we take a trip to the UK's biggest toy exhibition to find out what are going to be the most popular toys of 1999. Plus, we visit a school which integrates deaf and hearing children in an unusual way. How do they do it? Well, by teaching the hearing children to sign.
Good morning, Mrs. Doctor. Good morning, all.
And remember Joanne, whose New Year's resolution was to lose weight. We find out how she's doing.
I'm back.
But first, the deaf news.
Hello and welcome to Deaf News with me, Clive Mason. Now this is a slightly different Deaf News this week. The reason being it's about a colleague of mine who was having a drink nearby to here in Shepherd's Bush when they were approached by a man who appeared to be deaf, handing out these cards which have the RNID and Sense logos on the back. Now this man was asking for money. So let's find out exactly what happened from a colleague of mine, Leslie. Leslie, what did happen?
That's right, Clive. It was really interesting. We were having a bit of a discussion about some filming that was going on next week, and we saw somebody handing out these cards to people in the pub. He seemed to be deaf. So I had a look at this card, and it said on it the RNID and Sense. And this chap was collecting money, handing out the cards and collecting money. Anyway, he came over to us and we said to him, "Oh, are you deaf?" And he said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Oh, I'm from Russia." I said, "Oh, Russia, really?" He was saying, "Oh, I don't have a home, I've no money, I live on the streets, I need money for food." So I said, "Do you work for the RNID or Sense?" And he's going, "Oh, you're signing English, I don't understand English, I'm from Russia." So another deaf man then came over and said, "Oh, I know you two, you're deaf, you work in television." So we said, "Oh, who are you collecting for?" And he was saying, "Oh yes, I'm deaf, we're collecting for these charities." And I think what was happening, they were collecting the money for themselves.
Were they both Russian?
One Russian, one Irish, it
I
seems.
see. I wonder if this is happening a lot.
It seems like it is, yes.
Thanks, Leslie. Well, after this incident, we contacted the RNID and Sense and we asked them if these charity collectors could be genuine, and they said no. They're obviously bogus, they don't collect in this way. And they advised us to let people know that if this happens to you in a pub, then you should contact the police. They've said that these cards are not genuine and these people are bogus collectors collecting money for themselves. And it's actually very damaging for the charities involved. That's all for now. I'll be back with the main news later. But for now, over to Lara.
The yo-yo's been around for a long time, but who would have guessed that they would become a craze last year? Millions were sold, and that means big business for toy manufacturers. I wonder what's going to be the top toy for 1999. Something high-tech, or one of the cheap, enduring classics like this? See Here went to investigate.
Hi, we're here at the 46th International Toy Fair at Olympia in London. We're having a brilliant day. checking out all these new exciting toys. With me today is Lily and Akram. We're hoping to find out which toy is going to be the big hit for 1999.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready?
I like remote-controlled cars, big ones. Don't like aeroplanes. They're boring.
I like bikes. You can go really fast. I hate Teddy, they're for babies. But I wouldn't mind a huge, soft bear that I could cuddle.
I'm worn out. I still can't decide which toy I like best. There's so many of them. I want them all.
I know, let's ask an expert.
Right. Hi, you're the expert on this. What's going to be the big toy craze in 1999?
Oh, I wish I knew. I'm the worst for judging, because if you'd come here 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even told you about something called Teletubbies. And you know what happened to Teletubbies? And then last year, there was a little toy that arrived right near the end. We didn't even know it existed until about October. And this is him, and he's now Toy of the Year. So I'm afraid I'm a rotten judge. I think I'll leave it to you children to tell us what you think are going to be the big toys.
Dunno.
Dunno?
I know. Why don't you guys keep looking while I find out more?
Okay, see you later.
Bye.
Okay, they've gone. Can you tell me, what's your tip?
Well, I think the smart money for 99, as far as the top toy is concerned, is probably going to be the range from Star Wars. The film is going to be enormous. There's so much publicity generated. And you know, in 1982 and 1983, when Star Wars first came out, it was the top toy then. And I think there's a bit of nostalgia as well. And I think the kids are going to love it as much as a generation or so ago.
You work in the toy world. Does that mean that you're a bit of a kid yourself?
Oh, you have to be. You have to be a child in this industry. I mean, you know, quite frankly, if you didn't like toys, I mean, you might as well be working with widgets and beer barrels. But, oh no, we get a great kick out of it. And I mean, my little Furby here is now my personal friend. I'm not giving it to anybody. I mean, he lives at home with me. And, you know, we feed him and we look after him, we cherish him. And, oh, pardon, he just burped, I'm afraid. But, I mean, he's a great character. And, I mean, if you didn't sort of have any relationship with the toys, I think it'd be very dull.
Hey, I've got to go and have a word with someone. You stay here and have a laugh, all right?
Okay then.
Hello. Do boys and girls go for the same toys?
Girls and boys, when they're selecting toys, tend to have their own ideas of what they like. For example, obviously girls really enjoy dolls, I think much more than boys do. Boys, of course, go for much more action-type toys, but you'd be surprised how many girls do enjoy using what we would think of as boys' toys.
Oh, right, I see.
What are my hot tips for 1999? I'll tell you this, if I knew, I'd be a millionaire at the end of the year. How about that?
Hey, we're doing all the work here and you're just mucking around. Come on, we found out which are the best games.
Come on, follow me.
The experts say that this will be the best toy this year. But I think even though the Furby was the most popular last year, it's still going to be the best this year.
Well, all good things must come to an end. We've had a brilliant day though, haven't we? We've had a real good laugh. I love so many of the toys here, I can't decide which is best. There's just so many. But I do have one favourite. My friend for 36 years, Jeremy.
Dear.
Oh well. Bye.
Bye.
Great. Remember Joanne Westgate from Walsall, whose New Year's resolution was to lose weight? It's pretty brave of Joanne to allow us to film her progress. Just think of the pressure of thousands of people watching you trying to lose weight. Well, she's been on her diet now for a month. I wonder how she's getting on. Let's see.
I'm determined to lose weight, then I can get into this. I'm going to do it. For about 2 months now, I've been going to the Rosemary Connolly Fitness and Diet Club every week. At the beginning, it was quite difficult. I used to eat whatever I like, but I've had to be careful. I have to avoid too much fat and try to go for healthier food. It was going quite well, then something happened about 2 weeks ago. You see, just across the road there are some shops. Fish and chips, Chinese takeaway, Indian takeaways. One night I asked my husband and the kids what they fancied for tea, and they said a kebab, and I thought, oh yes, I fancy a kebab too. So I popped across the road to get them. So I was standing in the fish and chip shop and I was looking at the kebab turning on the spit with all that grease running off the meat. I'd already ordered 3, but after looking at it, I said, no, I'll just have the 2, please. I took them home and I thought, that was lucky. I'd said no, I just changed my mind. I had been tempted, but I was firm. In about an hour, I'm off to my class, the Rosemary Connolly Fitness and Diet Club. I've been going now for 2 months and I've lost 7 pounds. Tonight I'll be weighed and we'll see what I've lost since last week's session. As well as exercise, you get advice on healthy eating and so on. I'll be there for about an hour and a half. I go with my friend, she's hearing, her name's Julie. As she's hearing, she can interpret for me, which makes it a bit more interesting. We have a bit of a contest as well, with the same weight at the moment, and competing with each other helps make it fun. Like last week, I was less than her, and it makes her determined to do better this week. Just makes it more interesting. Hi.
Hi, I wonder what's on this week.
How's it going?
Well done, you've lost £5.
£5? Wow, that's brilliant.
The slimmer of the week this week is going to Joanne Westgate. She's done really well and she's lost £5. Good luck.
Good for Joanne. We'll be catching up with her once again next month. Remember, there are lots of other clubs where you can get advice on general fitness as well as dieting. Next, did you know that 97% of deaf children go to mainstream schools? But just how do these children fit in? Of course, there's usually special support, but the deaf child generally has to fit into the hearing environment. But are the hearing children asked to adapt to the deaf child's world? Well, one school is daring to be different. This school in Nottingham has over 100 pupils, only a handful of whom are deaf. But despite this, the teachers are taught to sign, the assemblies are signed, lessons are signed, and the hearing children are also encouraged to learn to sign. The school's achievements have actually been recognised by the government, who have given them an award. Leslie reports.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, we're going to sing our hymn. Oh, 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 how good is the Lord.
Great. What colour do you want to use now? Shall we colour these ones, the C's? Oh, much better. Lovely. And here? Are you colouring too? You probably know that most deaf children are integrated into hearing schools. But what does integration mean? Usually, that the deaf children have to fit into a totally hearing environment. Here at Aldercar Primary School, the policy of integration is a bit different from the norm. They've recently received an award from the Government's Department of Education and Employment. The policy here is not that the deaf children have to adapt to cope with the hearing world, but the opposite. The hearing children and adults are expected to adapt to fit into the world of the deaf children.
We won the award from the DFE for the training that the staff, the teachers and the classroom assistants and the dinner ladies, everybody in school went through in order to implement the integration of the deaf children into mainstream. When we decided to integrate the children, we said it would have to be on equal footing, that if deaf children were going to be integrated, then it was important that their language, their culture was seen as important as the spoken language and hearing culture. Which is why in school all the staff sign, all the children, the hearing children learn sign, why we encourage the deaf children to use their voice as much as possible so that the hearing children can understand them. There's a sort of a halfway measure where we meet each other in the middle. But if it wasn't seen as equal, then it wouldn't be integration.
The dog must go. Will you?
Being sad.
Not being sad, he used to make a big loud noise when he barked, didn't he? And as soon as he started barking, all the smiles vanished.
This is Molly, and she's deaf, the same as Claudia. The same as Miss Emery. Look, she's got a hearing aid, the same as Claudia's. And she can sign, the same as Claudia and Miss Emery. Can she sign her name? Molly. Now, do you think that any of you can remember how to sign the letters for your names? Rebecca, could you sign your name, please? Rebecca, and we'll have one more. Emma, could you sign your name for me? Emma, that's lovely, Emma. So, see, the children are learning to sign, the same as Molly, the same as Claudia, the same as Miss Emily.
Sharon, that's me. My friend's called Rachel. She's deaf. And I'm her friend.
I like to mix with both hearing and deaf because I want to be able to talk to both.
I'd like to learn how to lip read, to talk to hearing people. And I can sign with deaf people, which is fantastic. I like to mix with both.
We did have once an advisor came into school and went into the class and sat down next to one of our deaf children and started talking. And one of the other children came up to him and said, "You have to sign when you talk to Ross." And he said, "Well, I'm very sorry, but I don't sign." And this little girl said, "Well, then you've got to go away and learn." We think we probably give deaf children a better idea of what it's like in the hearing world than perhaps if they were in a unit where all they ever met were deaf children, because they learn to function in a hearing world. It's a very deaf-friendly situation, I admit, in the sense that all the adults sign, a lot of the hearing children pick up sign, and there are a lot of things in school geared for deaf children. But at the same time, the deaf children are learning how to function in the hearing world without losing touch of the deaf culture.
To be integrated into a hearing school isn't easy. Some kids manage well, some struggle and don't cope at all. Seems to me that this school is determined to succeed. Just imagine a world where everyone could sign.
Now, what kind of wine should you order when you go to a restaurant? Do you get confused with the wine list? There's so much to choose from and it can be really embarrassing. Do you fancy some wine? Would you, two pints of lager, please? It can be really confusing, can't it? And it's not easy to ask for help either. So we've brought in a wine expert. Alison Bryan. Hi, Alison.
Hello.
Alison, I know nothing about wine. I wouldn't know where to start.
Wine can be confusing. Lots of people find it a difficult subject. You need to use the label to get the information to help you. There are 4 main areas to be aware of. All the information is on the label, but you need to know how to read it. First, there's the grapes. There are all sorts of different varieties, so you need to know which you like. They will affect the taste and bouquet. Here are some examples of the different types of grapes.
Right, I see. So what's the second thing?
Well, the next thing is the country. Where the grapes are grown is important to the taste. Take Europe. The climate in Europe is so varied, and that can make the difference between a good year and a bad year, which is the next thing. The year is important. And the last thing is the vineyard, because of the different types of soil.
Right.
The soil quality is important. Some have a tradition of producing good quality wines. Here are some examples of vineyards.
Right. Right then, let's crack open a few and get stuck in.
No. You can't drink wine like it was lemonade. You have to appreciate the wine.
What do you mean?
Well, the first step is to uncork the bottle, first of all. And now to taste it.
Ah, excellent.
First of all, you take a sip, but you don't swallow it. You allow it to pass over your taste buds and around the mouth for a bit, and then you have to spit it out.
Oh, really?
It's important not to swallow it because it taints your taste buds and you can't judge it properly.
Right.
Okay, the first one for us to try is Chardonnay, and it's from Australia.
Great.
Well,
I don't know how to describe it really. There's a kind of woody taste.
oak.
Yeah.
It's got an aftertaste too, kind of buttery.
Yeah, buttery. That's right. It's really nice.
The next one is Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand.
That one's got kind of fruity taste. I'm not sure exactly what though.
I'd say gooseberry.
Yeah. It's lovely.
And the next one is Australian again, but with a mixture of grapes, Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon. How was that one?
Was it blackcurrant? Am I right?
Yes, it is, and with a peppery aftertaste too.
Yeah, it's pepper. I really like that one.
Is that your favourite?
Yeah, I think it is, you know. Anyway, thanks so much. Will you come and do this again for us?
I'd love to.
Thanks. Great. I've learnt such a lot today. Anyway, I'm going to go home and do some experimenting. Thanks again. Now, the news review.
Hello. The controversy over genetically modified food intensified this week. It emerged that the Science Minister, Lord Sainsbury, owns the patent on a gene used in genetically modified food, or GM. He's a member of a committee that discusses food technology issues, and his family's company is closely involved with the development of GM food products. The opposition have called for his resignation, saying that he is too closely involved to be impartial. The government was also accused of suppressing a report which was critical of field trials and which concluded that the potential damage to the environment was greater than had been thought. In a separate court case, one of the biggest companies which has pioneered GM technology, Monsanto, was fined £17,000 for breaking safety regulations at one of its field trials. Genetically modified food refers to crops which have been altered to make them biologically different from their parent plants. In some cases, to be more resistant to weed killers, which theoretically means that farmers can drench a field with a certain pesticide, knowing that the only thing that will survive will be the genetically modified plant. As well as environmental concerns, the main worry is that insufficient research has been done into the effect of GM foods on the people who eat it. Following the BSE crisis and the Salmonella and E. coli epidemics, there is considerable concern that the lessons on food safety have yet to be learned. There were violent demonstrations in 20 European cities this week as Kurds stormed Greek embassies, took hostages, and set themselves alight in the streets. 3 Kurds were killed when they tried to storm the Israeli consulate in Berlin. They were protesting about the arrest of the rebel Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan, who is wanted in Turkey to face charges of murder and terrorism. There are 10 million Kurds in Turkey, and Öcalan is the leader of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, which has been waging an armed struggle for independence for the last 15 years. He had been on the run since November, seeking a country that would grant him political asylum. But it appears that he was caught in a sophisticated intelligence operation in Kenya and taken to Turkey, where he could be executed if found guilty. The Kurds are made up of several different groups and tribes, and they're concentrated in the mountainous border regions of Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Syria. They have argued for autonomy since the end of the First World War, but although various governments have promised in the past to help set up an independent Kurdistan, there appears to be little political will in the region to make it a reality. Representatives of the Kurdistan Workers' Party said that they would continue the fight against Turkish rule and campaign for Öcalan's release. Five people working on the daytime TV show Vanessa are being interviewed by the BBC following newspaper allegations that viewers have been misled by guests on the show who were not who they claimed to be. It later emerged that they had been booked through an entertainment agency, which the BBC has said was wrong. After these allegations, a number of people claimed to have hoaxed the rival show Trisha, as well as other programmes on ITV and the BBC. Sources within the television industry say that the revelations are not entirely surprising, given the demands of producing extraordinary guests 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. These allegations come after revelations that scenes in documentaries purporting to show real life had been faked by the documentary makers. The real significance, though, is that the viewers may have lost faith with television. Programme makers have a contract of trust with the viewers, and you must be able to believe what you see on the programme if it's depicted as fact. The BBC said that it is reviewing its research procedures to ensure that it doesn't happen in the future. The Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic has reiterated his refusal to allow foreign troops in Kosovo as part of a peacekeeping deal, despite the threat of NATO airstrikes. The two sides in the long-running dispute, the Serbs and the Kosovo Liberation Army, are still in talks in France, and they have until 12 o'clock today to reach an agreement. America, which is one of the countries brokering the talks, say that the Kosovans are ready to sign an agreement, and it is the Serbs that are dragging their feet. If they cannot agree, then there is the real prospect of airstrikes in Kosovo to force the Serbs to accept the peace plan. Bill Clinton has been cleared of all charges in his impeachment trial, leaving him free to carry on for the last 2 years of his presidency. In an historic vote, the prosecution failed to secure the 2/3 majority needed to convict him, and in one of the 2 crucial votes, failed even to get a simple majority, as some Republican senators joined the Democrats and voted in the president's favor. The vote signals the end of the long-running scandal surrounding the president over his affair with Monica Lewinsky, which threatened at times to topple the most powerful man in the world. In a surprising move, his wife Hillary hinted that she may stand as a senator in New York in 2002. Now, what do you need for a nice beach holiday? Sunshine, warm sea, sandy beach? Well, Minehead usually has 2 out of 3. After the storms demolished the old sea defences in 1995, the Environment Agency decided to use the occasion to rebuild the sea walls and place huge boulders into the sea to enhance the beach at a cost of £13 million. The plan went spectacularly wrong. The boulders and the sea walls affected the tides and made the water scour all the sand off the beach, leaving pebbles and clay where there was once golden sand. Local people are not amused, and plans to transport 300,000 tonnes of sand to the beach will cost over £2 million. Well, let's hope that the replacement sand doesn't get washed away by the tide too. That's all for News Review this week. Now back to Lara.
Thank you. Well, that's all for this week. Next week, more on home security. Did you know that your garden shed is more at risk from thieves than your house? Jackie will be learning how to protect her property. Here's a sneak preview. I'll be back again next week at the same time. Bye!